What's up everyone, this is From Cheng here, bringing you another Armored Core 5 Design Corner. As always, the Design Corner is basically a section where I talk about some of the common and uncommon builds you might see running around on AC5, followed by some vids of the build in action. Now, if you played way back during 1.01 when the first game came out, you already know what this build is. For some of you who do remember, this was a bit of a rage-inducing build. For those of you who don't, what I'm going to talk about today is the classic cookie-cutter heavy reverse joint. So, the story goes, back in 1.01, people started catching on to a certain build combination that was pretty strong. It was a HRJ with dual Gatling guns and dual battle rifles equipped with flash rockets. It didn't take long before everyone started copying it and using it, making it really hard for people who wanted to build, unique builds to really do anything about it. Your only choice was to either copy the build or kind of just give up. Anyway, 1.03 came along and nerfed the living daylights out of it, and took away a lot of the advantages that it previously had, and the number of people who used it dropped almost to zero. That being said, the CCHRJ, as we call it, found usage as a good but not overpowered AC post-patch. Let's take an in-depth look at this build, shall we? Alright, so basic frame. Not a whole lot has changed design-wise since 1.01. We've got the Beowulf head. Good for getting a nice speed boost thanks to high stability computation. Also gives you great camera performance, which translate into long-range scan, and about an extra 100 to 150 range added to your FCS. Disadvantages: its poor scan speed, and probably more importantly, the hide rate at almost 1800. Core. Usually two choices here. Either we've got the Jotun for slightly better defense and double the recons of the 10A, or the UCR 10A for the energy, conductivity, and extra 1000 AP or so. Using any of the lighter ones has the risk of dropping your KE a little too low, so that's usually why those are your best two options. Arms. Like in 1.01, the arms of choice here are the Sever arms for its high firing stability, which greatly increases the rate of fire of your weapons. Disadvantages, kind of the same as Beowulf, low defenses and hide rate. Next, we've got the legs. Now, I've seen some people run the Odenwald, which is right here, and some people use the Wu-Tang. But the majority of people you see running HOJs are going to be using the KT-2N3 Putuo. It's got the best overall stats with the exception of weight and speed, I think. And let's see, Wu-Tang. Yeah, so weight and speed has only really two weak points. Turning speed is really poor. It's just a byproduct of being an HRJ leg, especially with that post-patch nerf. But it's got great defenses, enough to buff out battle rifles, and makes it high enough to buff out certain KE weapons. So FCS. Now with this one, there's a little bit more variety in terms of what you'll see. So the one I've got equipped here is the Glance, probably the best, let's see, quick lock FCS. Got a lock-on size of 16, lock-on range 200, lock computation 170. It's got, so it's one of the best. I think it's the highest. Some people run the Yasukani. It's got about 50 less range, but it makes up with the Beowulf. It's got an extra 3 lock-on size. Okay, for the wide angle, you see the Odd Crit, same size as the Yasukani, but it's got extra 50 lock-on range, and it also has the bonus of having the best missile lock computation and the largest number of missile locks at 6. Sometimes you see this Zenatop, and every now and then you see a D2. So basically, all the wide angles are good except for the junk one. For long range, it's normally pre-dire, 350 range, 150 lock, so it's only 20 less than the Glance. Also see the Sahar, it's got 3 less let's see, it's got about 3 more lock-on sides than pre-dire, and a little less range, but it kind of makes up for it. Don't really see the Izumi much. It's a really small lock ring, and it's got really good range, but it's kind of hard to use. Now, generator. One of the problems you're going to have with HRJ legs is that they are very draining thanks to the nerf and scan mode change. Because of that, you usually don't want to choose large capacity generators, because you'll be burning through that energy really fast and you won't be getting it back anytime soon. So if you're getting pressured, it's pretty much game over. That's not to say you can't use it, I just wouldn't recommend it. You can either choose high regen like the Ho Vital, like I've got equipped here, let's see, right there. You know, it's got the best energy output at 17,530, which is like good, let's see, good 500 more, 600 more than the next best, which is the UGN 71LW. You can also, if you've got the weight and the space, try to equip one of the balance type, or specifically the Procney, which is the best of the balanced capacity of the balanced generators. Remember, HRJs have really high drains, so no matter what generator you use, you'll be burning through your EN pretty quickly. So be sure to conserve when you can, or you're going to find yourself in a lot of situations where you boost a few times and are completely out of energy. Not a good situation to ever be in, so keep that in mind. Booster wise, you only have one option here. High acceleration are just way too slow, and HRJs don't really benefit from the long glide boost times it would offer. Low power, see here, are even slower and are completely out of the question. So the only logical choice is high power. You can either choose the Dafeng or the Borea. Dafeng has slightly less energy consumption, but it's kind of weaker. You know, as you can see here, it's only got 286 high boost. But the Borea is basically pure power. It's got 300 high boost in this AC, but it drains a hell of a lot more. So which one you want depends on how good you are with your energy conservation, I guess. Right. So for generators, it's the same two choices. You've got the ER36/ER and the ER36/EA. It really depends kind of what core you choose. If you choose the UCR10A core, you'll want to use the EA. But if you're using the Jotun like I have here, you can go ahead and use the ER because you've got 60 recons and you're not going to be running in and out anytime soon. For weapons, you've got the generic dual battle rifles, Stracozas again in this case. Again, you can get about 2600 attack power on them, and combine the firing rate increase from the HRJ legs and sphere arm, and it's like a machine gun. Not as bad as 1.01, but still pretty quick. Again, some people go for normal power, you know, to get, which gives you a lower higher power, but also gives you base reload time. And that means is that when it's gonna lock in a much shorter period, and it's also gonna fire faster because the reload time also stays pretty low. Like if you can see here, let's see, it's a base one at. Don't have a base one, but this Stracoza right here has 90 reload time and 149 base lock-on time, and the full power one has 157.99. Doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but you know, when you're trying to lock as fast as possible, you want it as low as you can possibly get it. For the shoulder here, now, again, if you played back in 1.01, you know exactly what this weapon is. The UF-R23 Ascensil, the flash rocket. Back then, that thing used to last about 30 seconds. Probably one of the things that's going to piss off people a lot. This time around, it's been nerfed a lot. Really slow, really low range, and only lasts about 5 to 7 seconds. If you're trying to get in close and blindside an enemy, this is a pretty good shoulder to use, because it'll deprive them of lock-on, and they'll just have to back up and try to retreat before you can get them. Another shoulder you might use is the Danabad subcomputer, just to increase the lock-on of the battle rifles, because like I said before, battle rifles have kind of bad lock-on times, and so just adding that on makes it a lot quicker. Now, if you play on the JB side, you may see a lot more people use the SBC-9 Tsukuyomi. That's because the Tsukuyomi has, it has the largest parallel processing range. Now, what that means is that anytime you have one of your allies close by you, it will automatically give them the subcomputer lock-on bonus just by being close to you. And Tsukuyomi has, Danabad has 189, Shillong has 246, and Tsukuyomi has the largest at 305. So as long as they're within a 305 range, they'll get that bonus. If you have 2 or 3 people using subcomputer, that adds up really fast. So you might want to keep note of that, in conquest matches. Alright, for back weapons, we've got here the USG-11 shotguns. Great weapons thanks to the 1400 impact force, which is going to stun anything that isn't built specifically to be stun resistant, or isn't a quad or another HRJ. They max out at about 800 to 900 damage, and they only have 20 shots, you can see here. But the stun plus the damage and the number of pellet fires makes up for that very nicely. Beyond that, you can also equip Kansi rifles, which have a max damage of 1784, I think. I only have a 1660 over on this side, but it's great for piercing armor on a bunch of different builds. Normally on quads, other HRJs, and some heavyweights. The low fire rate is made up with the bonus that the HRJ legs give you. As you can see here, it's got a reload time of 66. Add on the HRJ and the sphere legs, and it fires a lot better than that. Also, you can equip the, another great choice to choose is the PMG. Dual PMGs with an amp in the shoulder is popular as well. Great for dealing with TE midweights that have less than, I think, 1000 TE defense. Not too sure of the exact number off the top of my head. But in our arcade, anything that can't defend against that is going to get burned down really quickly because the arcade fires very fast. Let's see. And another popular choice, mentioned this before on the TE midweight, is the Lamport Oxide combo. Here, the Lamport gets up to 1505, and then with an Oxide gets about, I think, 1500, 1600 attack power. Let's see here. I don't have too many good weapons on this server. Let's see. About 1447, but I'm pretty sure you can get about 1600. I just bought these in the shop, so they're not that great. So, with all that out of the way, let's do a quick overview of this build. Alright, oops, pressed the wrong button there. The main strong points of the HRJ is that it has high defenses in 2 areas: high stability, high jumping ability, and the weapon's firing rate increase bonus. Since it has mainly CE defense, the combination of a CE head, CE arms allows it to buff out all the battle rifles, the main CE weapons that everyone uses, and missiles as well, which is just a side bonus. The KE core, as I mentioned earlier, also means that it can buff out KE weapons to a certain degree, mainly the Lamport, which does 1505 damage and anything below. High stability, or better yet, recoil resistance, mean that it is almost impervious to stun, and high jumping ability lets it get really high really fast. Great way to escape bad situations. Probably the single best reason to use HRJs though, is the firing rate bonus you get. I mentioned this before in the TE midweight video and also a little earlier, but legs and arms have a stat that gives them a faster fire rate for weapons. HRJs and CE arms have the highest stat in this area, which means if you want to rapid fire your weapons, whatever they may be, this is your leg of choice. That being said, there's still some serious downsides as well. While you can buff out, a Lamprod, which is the most commonly used KE weapon, I think, right beside the sniper rifle, the HRJ is still weak to the Tansy and Calendula, which get 1600 and 1800 damage respectively. And the poor TE, as you can see here, it's only got 351 on this particular model. Means that it's pretty weak to TE weapons, especially the PMG, which is a commonly used, TE weapon, and it's going to eat through your armor very quickly. HRJs also have poor turning, which means any fast-moving AC that gets close will be able to easily flank and murder. Combined with its high drain and the need to use some of the drainiest parts in the game, lower speed due to the nerf, and lots of weight, it manages to balance out an AC that used to be top tier in 1.01. In Conquest, it's a great build to use as a mid-range damage platform, overwhelming the enemy with, a lot of fire, huge volume fire, and using allies to back you up. In duels, it's a bit of a different story, especially without, having teammates to cover for its weaknesses. All in all, it's not a bad build by any means, but just know what you're getting into if you decide to use it. And I think that's about it for this AC5 Design Corner. If you thought this video was helpful, please like and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget, if there's a specific build you'd like me to talk about, let me know in the comments. This is From Cheng, signing out.